I blew up the Falcon, and I'm not too sure how. The Instagrammers may have been right. I shouldn't drive a untuned turbo Falcon. Well, not really. The Instagrammers can suck my dick. I didn't blow up the Barra, but my super branded turbo that I was running is now gone. So we are upgrading. So let's go over the current turbo and find out what failed. So first off, there was a lot of oil on the rocker cover. This is a separate issue to the turbo. There was also a lot of oil here in the piping, again on the rocker cover, and in the turbo itself was just coated with oil, unfortunately. So the second most obvious issue that is seen here is the amount of movement. Should not be doing that. Also, another issue that was observed after it blew a lot of smoke was that the shaft just decided when it wanted to spin and when it didn't want to spin, and this is a video of that. So it did have a restrictor in it, but it may have been far too big, which has caused this issue. So we'll need to get a smaller restrictor. It needs to be the size of a bike's carb jet, not just a giant hole. So taking this out, I think we found our issue. Now if you're a turbine specialist, which I'm not, you could perhaps tell that these extremely sharp bends are not the best for airflow. And this part here that is not black and has magically shined itself has self-clearance on the rear housing. Not recommended, 0 out of 10. Look at that. So V-bands aren't meant to do that. If you're new to a V-band, V-band should open up. They have spring tension in them. This, no more spring, no more tension. So I don't think the V-band was sealing for the majority of the time, as there is a fair bit of exhaust gas here. You can see the blackening on the band, and there's a bit of blow through on the sides. And here on the actual clamping bit, it is black as well, so there was blow through there as well. Look at that color on these hardware bolts. That is how you build fast cars for little money. So you guys might be wondering, why didn't you just take the rear housing off? It's way more efficient. But when you get the core out of the way, you can actually get spanners in here. And some idiot decided to do a low mount on this Falcon, so it takes some extra time. So we've got the V-band off, and the new turbo should come with new ones, but it's always good to assess them when they're off, just to see if there's any leaks or damages or anything that could cause a future issue. Look at those welds from Red Devil Lantern. Oh. So we have gotten the rear housing out. We will be reusing this rear housing as it already has everything on it. Has the right V-band on it that we need, the Turbo Smart wastegate, and a big hunk of steam pipe to connect that to the housing. This is a Twin Squirrel 101 AR rear housing. So here you can see witness, it was bleeding out just like we showed you on the V-band. So just a bad seating there. So you can see here there's been a few compressor wheel strikes, but the housing can cop a shit ton of that. The compressor wheel can only cop it once. So a reason for reusing this and not using the one that comes with the new turbo is that redoing all this to the other housing will be a pain and costly. So there was also some heating issues with the turbo, the exhaust and the power steering line, so this will need to be sorted out before we sort the new turbo out as well. So this here might look like the old turbo, but this is the new turbo. We have to use the rear old housing like I explained, as it's going to bolt onto the manifold and the exhaust. And it's just a costly exercise to redo everything on this rear housing to the new rear housing. So this is the new wheel, and as you can see the blades are nice and smooth and uniform and not jagged and torn up. So this is a healthy rear wheel. As you can see here, this is a different rear housing. It has a T6 flange, a different location for the wastegate, and although this would be a better rear housing to use, it just means doing everything over again and thus costing more, and making everything fit in the low mount position, which also might be a bit difficult. This is my favorite part of this turbo. This right here, this says expensive. Expensive. So on this one you can tell this is the old blown rear wheel because of the way it is. This is not the noise that you want coming from a turbo. Just comparing the two turbos, this old one has an oil port that goes in and out, and this has been threaded. This one has a T4 flange and the new one has a T6 flange, which is substantially better but unfortunately won't work. Now we have this new turbo. So it's got the flange for the feed and already has a little restrictor valve in it already. So we will compare shaft noises. The new turbo also has water ports in and out to cool it, which the other one didn't have. The old one was a GTX 4202 with a billet front wheel. This is a expensive. And right here on this little red mark, you can see that it says extra expensive. So this one has a nice little vacuum port on the front housing and is a GTX 4202R, and the R stands for Willy Fast. So a few highlights of this new turbo is 1, the billet wheel, and 2, the rear wheel design is slightly more efficient. It has the same size and profile as our no-name turbo that blew up, so same exducer and inducer, but this one can cop a shit ton more abuse. So I'll grab a sounding rod so you can hear why it can cop more abuse. So as you saw, the old gasket for the turbo was absolutely blown out, but it's okay because I have more T4 gaskets. These are not for twin squirrel, but you know, it is what it is, should work. And like I said, the rear wheel on these is exactly the same, so the beautiful rear housing sits perfectly on. We faced some issues with some oil coming out past the cam solenoid, so The seals could possibly be done. Just clean out the gallery so we don't have oil going into there. So now that the gallery is clean, I'm going to go get some new fittings for the new turbo, and then I will see you on the next one. Much love, King.